Greetings, YouTube. I'm WaspStar986. This is Random Nation Studios, and welcome back to Who's On First. And yes, you read the title correctly. This is not actually the third part of my FNAF theory. This is not the finale. If you didn't watch my very first video, I will be going back to school starting August 15th. And I'm recording this July 30th. So I really only had enough time to make an upload one more video before going back. I did a lot of thinking and decided that I would make a part 2.5 to the security breach theory rather than just wrapping up the series. Plus, after posting part 2, I went back to review my notes and realized there was a lot more details I didn't cover. That I didn't even realize I had left out. I had to cut a lot of stuff from part 2 because of time, among other reasons. But after doing a little extra research, I noticed there were a lot more to the points that I cut that I initially realized. And again, because I only have a few weeks before school, I decided it would be better to do one more video going over what I hadn't been able to discuss in part 2. This will give you guys a few more things to ruminate on while I'm off. Plus, I feel like if I don't explain at least some of these points here, I'll have to put them into part 3, which will make that video end up running much too long and leave y'all feeling kind of confused, maybe. So with that said, let us get into it. Okay, so back in my last video, I explained the answers to the theory hints I gave in part 1, and that the first hint had to do with a special ability shared by Roxanne Wolf and the original Foxy, known by the fandom as Withered Foxy. The answer is that both of them have a sort of second sight. They are able to see things that apparently none of, or at least most of the other animatronics at their respective locations can. But there's one other thing that they share in common that I honestly didn't even think about. In a comment made by, and I apologize, I'm probably going to butcher your name, A. Honey, pointed out that there is one other thing that they have in common, and that's the way in which they attack the player. I looked into it and realized that they were absolutely correct. See, in FNAF 2, Withered Foxy will leap to the security desk to attack the night guard during his jump scare. And in Security Breach, Roxanne chases Gregory until she gets just close enough that he's just out of her reach, before leaping forward to try and pounce on him. And if she's successful in grabbing you, it initiates her jump scare. This actually ties in very well with another of the points I had intended to discuss back in part 2. In another one of his videos, fellow YouTuber Rytoast discussed a theory explaining who might actually be possessing Glamrock Freddy. I put a link to that video in the description if you want to check it out after this. I frankly think it's a good theory that deserves to be explored, and Ry can explain it way better than I can. But part of that theory involves the idea that Fazbear Entertainment pulled data from the FNAF VR game to develop the AI and personality code for Glamrock Freddy. And honestly, given this company's history of recycling old technology, it's entirely possible. I mean, that's basically how they made a good chunk of the VR game in the first place. And if this is how Fazbear programmed Freddy, who's to say they didn't do the same thing for Glamrock Chica and Bonnie as well? And if Foxy was here at some point, there's absolutely no reason why they wouldn't use data from the VR game, and possibly even the AR game, to program him too. In fact, I believe that that is exactly what Fazbear did. I think that Fazbear Entertainment did build a Foxy animatronic and utilized code from those games to construct his AI and personality profile. And when he was transformed into Roxanne Wolf, a lot of that personality was left over. We actually can see evidence of this in the game too. In addition to sharing certain behavioral tendencies, Foxy and Roxanne Wolf share a number of personality quirks as well. According to the Five Nights at Freddy's wiki, Foxy's behavior in FNAF AR is described as being cocky, and he seems to have an extremely condescending attitude towards the player, mocking them as he stalks them and laughing at their misfortune. Apparently, FNAF AR Foxy had a bit of an ego, not too unlike the Pizzaplex's sassy guitar swinging wolf. Even some of his mannerisms, his voice lines, are shockingly similar in nature to Roxanne's. I actually found a few of these on the Five Nights at Freddy's wiki site. And, well, just take a listen to a couple of these lines and judge for yourself.
What's wrong? Am I too fast for ya?
You can't outrun me.
Dead men do indeed tell no tales. Ha ha ha!
Nobody will miss you.
Now, whether Foxy at the Pizzaplex was quite this crude is unclear. Honestly, if anything, he may not have been very hospitable towards adult guests and, Lord knows, the staff. But I think he'd probably be pretty friendly to the kids. But that's just me. Not only does Roxy seem to retain much of Foxy's personality, but back in part 2, I also hinted at, or at least intended to hint at, the possibility that Roxanne remembers her old life as Foxy. She retains quite a bit of that memory. Voice lines such as,
I just need a little work done,
seem to hint at serious past trauma that Foxy himself had suffered many times across a number of his iterations throughout Fazbear history. What's more, she also likely remembers how beloved and popular she was as Foxy, and how popular the character still is to this day, and yearns to be just as loved as Roxanne Wolf, as is implied by the voice line,
everybody still loves me, right?
In addition, I mentioned how I firmly believe that Roxanne may have been constructed using Foxy's old endo as a base. Again, if Vanessa's threats to Freddy are to be believed, and Fazbear Entertainment could easily replace Freddy Fazbear of all characters by just putting his casing over a new endo, why couldn't they make a new character by repurposing an older one? But the freaky thing is that Steel Wool may have been hinting at that possibility all along, even before the game even dropped. I already mentioned that moment of Roxanne turning to the camera and flaring her claws, and how this could be a case of foreshadowing. Again, remember, a right hand is something that Captain Foxy lacks. His right hand is a hook. So Roxanne showing off her right hand could be seen as her showing off what is effectively a new accessory. And this isn't even the only time she does it either. I went back and watched that opening cutscene, and there are at least 3 times that I could count where emphasis is put onto Roxanne having a right hand, including at the very beginning. But there is a similar instance of such emphasis being put on a character's right hand, or in Foxy's case, lack thereof, that could be just as relevant. If you remember the Freddy and Friends on Tour promotional shorts, then you may know where I'm going with this. In each of these goofy Hanna-Barbera style cartoons, we see Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica exploring different areas of the Fazbear's animated universe. At some point, they find Captain Foxy, and one of them asks if he wants to join the band. He replies by lifting up his pirate hook and chasing them. Granted, this only takes up a few seconds of each episode, but he does it in every single episode. Though brief, this moment is seen in every short, emphasizes Foxy's right hand being a hook rather than a functional appendage. Then, in the opening of Security Breach, we see several brief moments in which Roxanne Wolf shows off that right hand. And what's crazy is that this isn't even the only possible foreshadowing seen in Freddy and Friends, or at least tracing back to the shorts. In fact, these goofy cartoons probably gave me some of my biggest hints for this theory. I mentioned how each episode starts Freddy and the gang exploring one of the Fazbear universe corners, finding Foxy only to wind up getting chased by him. However, in the first 3 episodes, they all end with Foxy getting tied up and Freddy unmasking him a la Scooby-Doo to reveal his robotic face, which, quick little side note, looks very reminiscent of the Endo 02 models. And then we cut to the Fazbear trio giving a performance. It isn't until the 4th and final short that Freddy realizes all Foxy wanted was a slice of pizza, and Foxy joins the group playing on his accordion. Sadly, it doesn't appear as though this union was permanent, since the episode concludes with Freddy and his friends walking down a dirt path without Foxy. However, it's the fact that Foxy's face is removed in the first 3 episodes that's noteworthy here. During my follow-up research, I found this unused Roxy voice line.
My face! My face! My face!
Notice how she screams, "My face," 3 times. Now, I am very aware of how inconsistent the fan base can be when it comes to using cut content to support theories, but I think I may be able to get away with it here. This isn't the same thing as Steel Wool cutting the voice line where Freddy tells Gregory that he's bleeding, or how he figured out why Gregory isn't in the database. I mean, there were several cut voice lines that did eventually get added into the game, including this one.
I have never been allowed in here before. This must be where I was born. Look at all the endos.
This line is actually a lot longer, so I had to cut it for the sake of time. Trust me, it is way too long for me to play here in its entirety. I can honestly understand why Steel Wool opted to remove this from the original game and added it in much later. What I'm saying is, I firmly believe that one Roxy line that was cut, the reason it's useful for supporting my theory is because it wasn't cut because it didn't fit with the intended final product, like Freddy mentioning Gregory's bloody cut arm. They cut this due to time constraints, and while, as far as I know, as of writing this script, it remains cut from the game, but that's only because Steel Wool obviously doesn't understand how FNAF lore is supposed to work. So this is pretty much where I am going to leave off for now. School starts, like I said before, in just a few weeks, and I wanted to try to get something up on my channel before returning to being buried under a mountain of homework. I figured it would be better than nothing. You know, heaven forbid the algorithm should go too long without an offering. Just to give you an idea of how busy I will be, I have 2 express courses during the first 8 weeks of the upcoming semester and 1 during the second 8-week period, and that one's going to be a law class, so pray for me. Needless to say, there will not be a whole lot of time in between, but I will do my best to work on part 3 during whatever downtime I'm able to squeeze out. Sadly, though, I cannot make any promises. Believe me, folks, I wish I could. I really, really wish that I could wrap up saying that part 3 will be coming out soon, or at least give you a reasonable ETA for when it will drop, but I can't. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this video. I worked really hard to try and cobble together some more theory bits for you guys to ponder on during the next several weeks while the channel is quiet. Lord knows it's been way too quiet for my liking since uploading part 2 of this theory as it is. And that's without even going into how I've gotten very little done as far as working on the other projects I have planned for this channel. I'm doing my best to give you my best using what I have at my disposal, and as I've said, that isn't much right now. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. And if anything in this video made your theorist senses tingle, feel free to share your thoughts down in the comments. Just try to be polite and respectful down there. Don't force me to play Big Brother. You know, disagree all you want, but I will not tolerate haters. Also, if you missed parts 1 or 2, you can find them by clicking on the little image in the circle on the left. That will take you straight to the channel where you can find all of our videos. Until next time, folks, I'm WaspStar986. This is Random Nation Studios. Be sure to stay safe, stay awesome, and stay random. Peace.